These are the notes for 1.5D. And our question today is, how do I write the equation of a perpendicular bisector in slope-intercept form? So we know what lots of those things mean. We know how to write an equation. We know what slope-intercept form is. Now we just got to figure out what a perpendicular bisector is and how it works. So first, what's a perpendicular bisector? It is a line that intersects, wrote that twice, intersects another line, segment, at 90 degrees, hence the word perpendicular, and divides it into two equal parts. That's where the bisector comes from. Okay, more things to remember. Slope between points. A equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We call that delta y over delta x. Perpendicular slope is negative reciprocal slope. And the midpoint formula, see, it's all coming together now, is the two coordinates together, y2 plus y1 over 2. Now, don't forget that it's plus, not subtract, like it is when we're doing slope. So let's look at, now that we have all those things, all things that we know, how to find slope, how to find perpendicular slope, how to find the midpoint, we can do all those things. So now let's look at the steps to find the perpendicular bisector for the line segment in the example. So the first thing, determine the slope of the line segment. So we look up here and we're going to use the coordinates when we get to it for these two pieces. So we have our coordinates, -2, 1, and 6, -3. So we label x1, y1, x2, y2, a equals -3 minus 1 over 6 minus a -2. That's -4 over 8. That's -1/2. Now we need to identify the perpendicular slope. So a perpendicular becomes positive 2 over 1 because these flip. Then we determine the midpoint of the line segment. So that's the one that we had. So the midpoint is 6 plus a -2. Remember, we're adding, divided by 2, and -3 plus 1 divided by 2. That simplifies to 4 over 2 and -2 over 2, which simplifies to 2, 1. That is also the bisector point, bisector point. That's going to cut that line in half. So we're to go find the point. 2, -1. I lost my negative. Don't do that. So over 2, -1. That point right there is our bisector point. Now, using the perpendicular slope from number 2 and the midpoint from 3, write the equation of the line in that form. So here's my point that I'm going to use for x1, y1 for right here. The slope that I'm going to use is my perpendicular slope. So then we have y equals 2 times x minus 2 plus -1. And then we solve. Y equals 2x minus 4 minus 1. Y equals 2x minus 5. That is my perpendicular bisector. So then to graph that, we start at -5. That's my slope. So for this equation, A is 2/1 and B is 0, -5. So to graph that, 0, -5, up to right 1, up to right 1, so this is my perpendicular bisector. Y equals 2x minus 5. Now, I know you're going to say it's a lot of work. 1, there's a level 4 problem. 2, it's all little steps that you know how to do. Don't forget that because it's a perpendicular bisector, we can draw a little perpendicular symbol to indicate. Also, because it's a bisector, this piece and this piece are the same length. All right, let's do it again. We're going to go through all the steps, okay? So first, find the slope of the line that we have. We have graphs down here that we can use. We don't have to have those, but they help too. So first we'll start with x1, y1, x2, y2. So first we find the slope. That's -2 minus 2 over 5 minus -1. That's 0 over 6, which is 0. So the first thing we have is, Miss Adams can't do math. That's -4 over 6, which is -2 over 3. All of these are looking for the perpendicular bisector. That means I'm always going to need the perpendicular slope. So perpendicular slope becomes positive 3 over 2. Now, I'm going to find the midpoint. So MID PT, midpoint, that's -2 plus 2. Again, Miss Adams can't read the directions. We've got to do the x's first. 5 plus a -1 over 2. The y's are -2 plus 2 over 2. That is 4 over 2 and 0 over 2. That is 2, 0. So that's my midpoint. this becomes the new x1, y1. This is the one that we're going to use in our formula, and that's our slope. So then we go to our equation, y equals a times x minus x1 plus y1, and we substitute the values that are highlighted. Y equals 3 over 2 times x minus 2 plus 0. Y equals 3 over 2x minus 3 plus 0, and then just for kicks and grins, we'll cancel that. Y equals 3 over 2x minus 3. This is our perpendicular bisector. So when we go down to the graph, -1, +2. There's the first point. And positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, positive or -2. That's down here. So this is our line segment. So this is -1, 2, and this is 5, -2. So that's the line that we're given. So then we graph the midpoint. That's the point 0, 2. So 0, 2 is right here. That's our midpoint. So our perpendicular bisector is going to go through that. So when we graph the other line, we start at -3. Our slope is 3 over 2. This is the perpendicular bisector. Y equals 3 over 2x minus 3. With these two pieces being congruent. So let's look at number 2 a little differently. We'll start with graphing our points. 9, 6 over 9 up 6. Here's one. And the other one is 5, -8. 5, -8. We talked about ways to find midpoint from this. So what's halfway between 5 and 9? What's halfway between 5 and 9? So here's 5 and here's 9. What's in the middle? 1, 2, 1, 2. 7 is in the middle. So the midpoint is 7 something. And then y's, what's halfway between 6 and -8? How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Half of 14 is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it. So 7 is at -1. So that's the midpoint. So over 7, down 1, this is my midpoint. Now, can I look at the line if I graphed it correctly and find my slope? Should be able to. So this is an intersection, so I think that we should be able to say that we go up 7 and over 2. So our slope is 7 over 2. that means our perpendicular slope is negative 2 over 7. So that means that from this line, I should be able to graph down 2, right 7, down 2, right 7, and that gives me down 2. Oh, because I went left. Somebody stop me. We can't go right 7, so we have to go up 2. So I'm going to go plus, or no. I can either go down and right, which I can't do, so I'm going to go up and left. So up 2, right 7, up 2, right 7. So when we draw this line, this is my perpendicular bisector. In slope-intercept, I need y equals ax plus b. Here's b, the point 0, 1. So that's b. So then y equals negative 2 over 7x plus 1. That's my perpendicular bisector. Now, we didn't use the other formula the same way that we did on the first one. And I'm going to use the formula again for number 3. But I want you to see that just by looking a little bit of logic, we found the midpoint by figuring out halfway between those coordinates, like we did when we did the midpoint section. Slope, we counted up and over. And then we could find the perpendicular slope. And then using the perpendicular slope, we just started at our midpoint and counted backwards to get to that line. And then used the intersection on the y-axis to find that formula. So you don't have to always use the formula. There are still methods that you can use that you know to be able to solve this. So let's do the last one. This one we're going to do the same way with the formula like we did before. So first we're going to find the slope. A is 3 minus a negative 1 over 8 minus a negative 4. That's 4 over 12. That's 1 over 3. That means that my perpendicular slope is negative 3. Then I have to find the midpoint. And that is 8 plus negative 4 over 3 plus negative 1. Oh, no, it's not. And 3 plus negative 1 over 2. That's 4 over 2 and 2 over 2. That's 2 and 1. This is the new x1, y1. So I need that and that. Now we're going to use our formula. Y equals a times x plus x1 minus x1 plus y1. Y equals, my slope is negative 3, x minus 2 plus 1. Distribute. Y equals negative 3x plus 6 plus 1. Y equals negative 3x plus 7. That's my perpendicular bisector. So we come down here on the graph, And first we graph our points. -4, -1. And 8, 3. And we connect those. Then we find our midpoint, which was 2, 1. That's our midpoint. And then we use our slope, which was -3/1. So from this point, we go down 3, right 1, down 3, right 1, down 3, right 1, up 3, left 1, just so that I can get an idea of where my line should go. That is perpendicular, which means that this piece and this piece are congruent. So this is y equals -3x plus 7. Which is my perpendicular bisector. And you can see I didn't extend my line far enough, but you could see that we're going to go through 0, 7, which is our B. So when you write your summary, figure out how to summarize those 4 steps. So it might be something like find the slope, perpendicular slope, midpoint is the new, our midpoint, and then we know that the midpoint is the new x1, y1, and then substitute, put too many toots, a, and the new x1, y1 into y equals a times x minus x1 plus y1, and graph.